Good evening, Juanita Phillips with ABC News. Firefighters say it's the calm before the firestorm. Crews are racing against the clock to contain 4 major blazes before the weather turns. Tomorrow is expected to be the worst day by far of the bushfire emergency, even hotter and drier than previously forecast, and with wind gusts up to 70 kilometres an hour. Emergency services have taken the extraordinary step of closing all schools and childcare centres in the fire zones, and they've urged everyone who doesn't need to be in the Blue Mountains to get out. ABC reporter Ben Worsley begins our coverage.
From the sky above the Blue Mountains, all you can see is smoke everywhere. What you can't see is the frantic activity below. The hills are swarming with men and women in yellow, relentlessly attacking this fire day in, day out.
We are seeing some positive results of these very deliberate, very targeted, very decisive strategies.
A second day of mild conditions has given the RFS the chance it needed to put in place a massive, coordinated operation.
Working towards the middle, putting a backburn in.
Backburning has circled the major townships here, and it's deliberately connected this fire with the much bigger blaze to the north around Lithgow. The two blazes are now linked by a narrow strip of burnt land, joining the Mount Victoria fire with the giant state mine fire, a thin line along the Darling Causeway, designed to protect Mount Victoria, Blackheath and other towns along the Great Western Highway. For residents, the controlled burning on their doorstep is both daunting and reassuring.
It is ominous, but it's a good thing for them to be doing today.
Chris West's property is right in the thick of it, but he used to be a fiery and he knows what to do.
It's not a matter of if it's going to happen, it's just when it's going to happen. And as you can see, we're in no danger at all.
We're standing just on the outskirts of Blackheath, and this area has just been backburned. It runs right up against the properties that sit along this ridge. And believe it or not, it's just started raining. But if that brings hope, it's false hope. And if anything, it could even hinder this backburning operation. The work's being done. Now it's a matter of waiting and watching.
Tonight is the night. Now is the time. You need to sit down, have a conversation with your family, know what it is that each and every one of you are going to do.
An entire region holds its breath.
Ben Worsley joins us now from Lithgow. Ben, it sounds like firefighters will really be up against it tomorrow.
Juanita, there's certainly no sense of doom here, but there is most definitely a sense of preparedness. These past 48 hours have been a godsend. 2 days of mild conditions to get ready for what's to come. Behind me is a hallway full of firefighters, 200 of them. Until recently, they were asleep. They're the night shift. They're now eating and getting ready to head back out to the fire zone to the north and to the south to monitor and to control ahead of tomorrow's worsening conditions. Tomorrow, the wind will come from the northwest. The humidity will drop, the temperatures will increase, and of most concern, the strength of the wind will pick up dramatically. That's why everyone's talking about tomorrow and have been working so hard to get ready.
And what about the residents? What are they doing to prepare?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, a sign of how seriously the authorities are taking tomorrow's threat. Every school in the Blue Mountains, all 25 of them, have been shut. Now, a whole raft of communities are effectively on alert from here in Lithgow, up the Bells line of road, up to Mount Wilson, further south through Mount Victoria, particularly through Blackheath, down the Great Western Highway, along the Grose Valley, all those communities around Katoomba as well. They've been told to have their fire plans ready and to know if and how they will evacuate if things get as bad as feared. Now, those communities I mentioned along the Bells line of road, well, they're barely more than a handful of families protecting their farms and orchards. The ABC's Emma Renwick today discovered they have the utmost admiration for the firefighters on hand to help.
They go where others are unable to venture. The crack remote area firefighting team are the fittest of the fit, trained in dry firefighting techniques to go behind the front lines. They trek through rugged terrain or are winched in to isolated spots by expert pilots.
Bark blowers, chainsaws, rake hoes, backpacks, survival kits. Each man generally goes down with a backpack and 1 or 2 other items.
And these are the small isolated communities they're protecting. Along the Bells line of road, which runs across the Blue Mountains, are tiny communities, often no more than a cluster of houses. These communities include Bell to the west, which is closest to the state mine fire. Heading down the mountain towards Sydney, there's Mount Tomah, home to the Blue Mountains Botanic Gardens. Barambing and Bilpin, known for its apples. At Bell, Greg Haig keeps a menagerie on his farm. Ducks, a wallaroo and lambs born during the fires. He's high in praise for firefighters, but critical of restrictions on how he protects his property.
We've got to be able to burn a lot easier, make it a lot easier. You can just ring up control and say we're going to have a little burn here and trust the people that have got the place that they'll do it right.
At Barambing, Phil Irwin and his family will stay unless they're forced to leave by authorities.
If I've got time, I'm going to wet down anything I can that could burn, and then we're going to go up to a neighbour's place and take shelter.
And here in the apple-growing community of Bilpin, not just homes, but livelihoods are at risk.
If the spot fires come through tomorrow and the wind gusts they're talking about, and we lose the orchard, we'll lose the next 7 years' income.
If the orchards in the area are spared in the fires, the growers that sell by the roadside have still taken a hit to their income as the Bells line of road is closed. Emma Renwick, ABC News, Bilpin.